Hey, everybody, welcome back. To those of you new to the channel, I want to extend a welcome to you. And to those of you returning, my regular subscribers, it's good to see you all again. It's always great to talk to everybody. I love hearing from all of you in the comments. I'm going to start today's video with a question. And I've been asked this recently. Where have all the good men gone? What has happened to dating, especially in light of this economy, in light of everything that's going on? What in the world has happened to everything? I think I can sum up some of this with some basic answers, but I'm going to tackle this from the economic standpoint right out the gate. Most people, apparently, really, from my experience talking to everyone, are having really just trouble maintaining a stable job. And we're not talking a job that is completely rewarding or is causing you to be gainfully employed in any way, shape, or form. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a job that you probably hate, doesn't pay your bills enough. And then at the end of the day, on top of everything, the last thing that you want to think about is attempting to start a relationship, go out on a date, because almost everybody that I know has shifted into a form of survival mode. And I'm wondering how many of you noticed this as well. Many of you are, I know, going through this. You've mentioned this in the comments before, but you're in a form of survival mode. And I completely understand why. Given everything that's happening out there, not just the housing market, but the job market, people can't seem to even get hired. And with that going on, understandably, there's a huge slump in dating, in long term relationships, marriages, people wanting to even consider the idea of having a family and having children at any point because they don't want to be struggling through all of that when they can barely afford themselves. That is a major aspect of it that I think is affecting everything. But I'm going to tackle one other part of this equation right here, something that most of the men here probably are aware of. If you've been watching this channel for any period of time, you're probably aware of it too. And that is that offering long term relationships, marriages, which is something I don't encourage in this day and age right now at all, to anybody that has a history of treating promiscuity as if it's something that's completely okay and consequence free has pretty much run its course. That is dead. It's not coming back. Most men, many women, in fact, are beginning to realize that that is no way to build either a long-term relationship, that in such a scenario that a marriage is absolutely out of the question simply because when you attach yourself to something like that and you tie yourself to something like that, you end up becoming someone who is not built into a partnership, but you're really in a sponsorship where you are sponsoring someone who is routinely and regularly engaging in bad behavior that they do not recognize nor wish to acknowledge. It just is not worth it. Nobody wants to go through that. And if you add on top of that everything that I mentioned previous part of this video about what's going on with the economy, when you have limited resources, you're in survival mode. And then on top of everything, our culture has been pushing and pushing and pushing this anti-moral, degenerate, completely promiscuous and wide open hedonistic lifestyle over and over and over again to people, to where people have become addicted to online validation. They are putting up more and more and more scantily clad pics, desperately trying to get attention from people. And the more you do that, the more it causes you to be conditioned to behave that way, to treat life like it is one giant promiscuous roller coaster, which, if that is what you want to do and you want to make your stance there, that's fine. But the reality is, long term relationships don't work with that. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir for most of the people that are my regular viewers, but people have walked away from that. And I can say, probably with a huge degree of certainty, that is over. No one wants commitment to that anymore, and that is going to die a painful death. And in many ways, it already has. In many ways, it already has. That is over, and no one's going back to it. There will be no returning to it. There will be no shaming people into it. There will be no pressuring people into it. They're leaving it behind because it is just not logical, reasonable, and even sane to attempt to build relationships and build lives with people that hang on to that way of thinking. And you would think back in the day, everybody kind of knew this. It was recognized as just a common sense stance to have on everything that's going on when it comes to dating, when it comes to marriage. You don't live your life that way and expect a different result other than everything absolutely collapsing and falling apart around you. Somehow we've gotten to a place where there are people that are actively pushing this ideology for so long that it has now created a collapse in the dating market, and nobody wants that. It is a bad deal, and everybody knows it. So, for those of you that are wondering, where have all the good people gone? They're investing their time and effort into cutting their debts, doing whatever they can to find stable, gainful employment and work. They're trying to save their dollars for people that actually want to be in their lives and are not running some sort of a scam of dating where they're looking for somebody to basically be the person to pay their bills and essentially sponsor them while they run around engaging in all their crazy deviant behavior. Everybody has left that behind, and they're figuring out a way to get into houses that they can afford, or moving in with friends, or doing like I did. I ended up building a cabin and getting rid of a bigger house that I lived in years ago. Or some of them are looking into doing tiny houses. Some of them are converting other buildings into homes, doing literally whatever they can. And they're focusing all their efforts on trying to build a life that has some measure of stability in the economic chaos that's happening now. So, those are the major factors that are going on. I'm wondering how many of you were relating to this too. How many of you have completely left the dating scene behind? Men, women, doesn't matter. You've just left it behind because you've realized not only is the economy not really supporting that, you need to lock down and stabilize your own situation, but you're realizing that there's far too many people out there running around treating physical intimacy like it is something that they just hand out for free. And that when people behave that way over any period of time, it becomes so ingrained in them, they can't shut it off. So, I'm not going to go too much deeper into this. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on this and how you feel about even attempting to date if you are at all. Most people, I would say, I discourage generally people attempting to look for most long term relationships or marriages right now at all. In fact, I don't encourage marriage at all. The plain and simple fact of the numbers is it's about a 99.9% chance you are going to run into somebody that isn't thinking through what they're doing. They are not going to be a diamond in the rough. You probably won't find somebody. That sounds harsh. That sounds terrible, but it's also utterly and completely truthful. I don't want to sell you something and say it's going to be, all roses out there if you just keep looking and looking and looking. Finding somebody that is in any way, shape, or form going to be honest with you across the board, transparent, and straightforward with you is so incredibly rare. You shouldn't even hardly hope for it unless it literally jumps up right in front of you, and even that's probably not going to happen. I say this because I want you to spend your precious time and effort making sure you are stabilized and not looking for something like that, because in this day and age, for the most part, unless you are extremely careful with the vetting process, and even with that, there's a chance you could miss it. I have seen guys that were promoting red pill content all over the place that ended up finding out that they were dating somebody that had an alternate phone that they were contacting other people on. So protect yourself, protect your mental health and your sanity at all costs, and do whatever you can for the most part to avoid any type of entanglements like that unless you're absolutely sure. And even if you think you are, really really double check and second guess that, because you might be getting duped. So I'm going to leave it at that for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments below. And before I leave, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It all helps with the algorithm. And also, I've got a little bit of other news too. We've got a community coming up that I'm going to be offering soon for everybody to join. And if you're interested in doing a YouTube channel, it'll help guide you through that. I've actually got a course I'm putting together that just tells you exactly how I went from A to B, because I have a lot of people that have asked me, how did you get monetized? How do you get motivated to make videos? I mean, how did you do everything you did? And I absolutely want other people to have the opportunity to do this, especially with the economy being as bad as it is. Everybody's got a voice and a unique take on their experience and should be encouraged to share it and maybe do the same thing that I'm doing. So, with that, I'm going to wrap it up for today. And I look forward to talking to you all and seeing you again in the next video.